The wrestling and K-pop worlds collided in absolutely insane fashion last night when Jin shocked everyone at BTS's Mexico City Stadium show by emerging during a segment break dressed in elaborate custom Lucha Libre attire including a ornate silver and gold mask, entering through the crowd like a professional wrestler making his entrance, climbing into an actual wrestling ring that had been secretly constructed on the stage, and proceeding to perform a series of classic wrestling celebration moves including climbing the turnbuckles, raising his arms in victory poses, and even attempting a theatrical stare-down with imaginary opponents while 80,000 Mexican fans lost their collective minds at witnessing their Korean idol embracing Mexican wrestling culture in the most dramatic and committed way possible. The footage that has now been viewed over 2 billion times shows Jin moving with surprising confidence and authenticity in his wrestling persona, having clearly studied Lucha Libre traditions and WWE performance styles enough to execute recognizable moves and poses that demonstrated genuine respect for and understanding of wrestling culture, rather than just putting on a costume and waving at the crowd. Why would Jin choose to surprise Mexican fans with a Lucha Libre performance rather than some other form of cultural appreciation? And does his decision to fully commit to the wrestling persona including mask, costume, and athletic performance moves suggest he has genuine personal interest in wrestling, or was this purely strategic crowd-pleasing gesture? According to sources close to BTS and statements released after the show, Jin's Lucha Libre surprise was apparently his personal initiative developed over weeks of planning after learning about the deep cultural significance of Lucha Libre in Mexico, and after watching extensive footage of both traditional Mexican wrestling and WWE performances to understand the theatrical and athletic elements that make wrestling such compelling entertainment. His decision to not just acknowledge Mexican wrestling culture, but to actually participate in it by entering the ring and performing moves himself, rather than just wearing a mask for a photo opportunity, demonstrates level of commitment and respect that goes far beyond typical celebrity cultural appreciation gestures. The physical risk involved in climbing ring ropes and performing elevated poses, while wearing a mask that limits vision, suggests either remarkable confidence in his athletic abilities or slight recklessness driven by desire to give Mexican fans an unforgettable authentic experience, rather than playing it safe with more controlled performance elements. The detail that has wrestling fans and ARMY both absolutely losing their minds is that footage from multiple angles shows Jin executing a perfect Eddie Guerrero-style celebration on the top turnbuckle, a specific WWE legend signature move that requires both balance and theatrical timing, followed by what appears to be an attempted Rey Mysterio pose that he doesn't quite nail but that demonstrates he has been studying specific wrestlers' styles rather than just doing generic victory gestures, with the specificity of his wrestling references showing genuine fan knowledge rather than surface-level cultural tourism. The fact that Jin chose to reference Eddie Guerrero, a Mexican-American wrestling legend who is revered in both Mexican and American wrestling culture, and whose memory carries deep emotional significance for wrestling fans, demonstrates either remarkable research and cultural sensitivity or guidance from knowledgeable advisors who helped him understand which wrestling figures would resonate most meaningfully with Mexican audiences. The attempt at a Rey Mysterio pose, while not perfectly executed, shows willingness to attempt challenging athletic moves even at risk of not quite pulling them off, prioritizing authentic effort over safe guaranteed success. The stadium event where Jin's Lucha Libre surprise occurred was BTS's second and final Mexico City show, with the wrestling ring apparently being constructed during the first show setup and kept hidden under stage coverings until the moment of Jin's entrance when it was dramatically revealed along with his masked appearance. The logistics of secretly building a full-size wrestling ring complete with ropes, turnbuckles, and proper padding within a concert stage setup without fans or even most crew members realizing what was being prepared apparently required extensive coordination and careful timing to ensure the surprise wouldn't be spoiled by premature discovery or social media leaks. The fact that the secret was successfully maintained until Jin's actual entrance demonstrates impressive operational security and the cooperation of numerous people who had to know about the plan but kept it confidential. The Lucha Libre costume that Jin wore for his wrestling performance was apparently a custom-created piece designed specifically for him by actual Lucha Libre costume makers in Mexico, with the mask featuring intricate embroidery and design elements that incorporated both traditional Mexican wrestling aesthetics and subtle BTS or Jin-specific symbols that fans have been analyzing and decoding in photographs. The choice to wear authentic Lucha Libre gear created by actual Mexican craftspeople rather than using a generic costume or something created by his usual stylist, demonstrates respect for the art form and desire to present himself as authentically as possible within the wrestling context. Though some wrestling purists have noted that traditionally masks are earned through wrestling training and career, rather than just being purchased or created for performance purposes. The specific wrestling moves and celebration poses that Jin executed during his ring performance showed varying levels of technical success, with some elements being performed confidently and accurately, while others revealed his limited athletic training in wrestling-specific movements. The turnbuckle climbing and elevated poses were generally successful and created dramatic visual moments that served the theatrical purpose, even if the exact form wasn't perfect by professional wrestling standards. The attempted rope bouncing and movement around the ring showed someone who had watched wrestling and understood the rhythm and energy, but who hadn't actually trained extensively in the physical skills, creating endearing moments where his effort and enthusiasm compensated for technical limitations. The crowd reaction during Jin's Lucha Libre performance was absolutely deafening, with the combination of surprise at seeing a K-pop idol embracing Mexican wrestling culture and genuine appreciation for his commitment to the performance-creating wall of sound that overwhelmed the stadium's audio systems. The specific moment when Jin first appeared in the mask apparently triggered screaming so loud that nearby residents reported hearing it from miles away, with the emotional impact of seeing him honor Mexican culture in such a visible and committed way creating response that transcended normal concert enthusiasm and became something more like collective cultural celebration and validation. The other BTS members' reactions to Jin's wrestling surprise were partially visible in footage and were reportedly supportive and amused, with several members apparently having known about the plan in advance while others were genuinely surprised along with the audience. The decision about whether to involve other members in the wrestling segment or to make it Jin's solo moment apparently reflected his desire to take personal responsibility for the cultural gesture, and to avoid diluting its impact by having multiple people participate rather than creating clear singular moment of one member fully committing to honoring Mexican wrestling tradition. The wrestling community's response to Jin's Lucha Libre performance has been mixed, with some professional wrestlers and wrestling fans praising his respect for the culture and his willingness to actually get in the ring and attempt moves rather than just posing for photos in a mask, while others have expressed concerns about cultural appropriation or about diminishing the seriousness of Lucha Libre by having a pop star perform in costume without actual wrestling training or earned right to wear the mask. The debate reflects broader tensions about when cultural appreciation crosses into appropriation, and about whether good intentions and visible respect are sufficient or whether there are some cultural traditions that should remain exclusive to practitioners who have undergone proper training and initiation. The physical risk that Jin took by climbing ropes and performing elevated poses while wearing a vision-limiting mask in front of 80,000 people has been noted by safety experts and risk management professionals, who point out that falls from ring turnbuckles can cause serious injury, and that performing such moves without extensive training and safety preparation represents genuine danger that was perhaps not fully considered in the enthusiasm to create memorable moment. The fact that nothing went wrong and Jin successfully completed his performance without injury was apparently more luck than guaranteed outcome, raising questions about whether such risks are justified for entertainment purposes. The symbolic significance of Jin choosing Lucha Libre as his way to honor Mexican culture rather than some other traditional element like mariachi music, traditional dance, or culinary references has been subject to analysis, with observers noting that wrestling represents Mexican working-class culture and athletic heroism in ways that other more stereotypical cultural references might not, making his choice demonstrate deeper cultural understanding than if he had selected more obvious tourist-friendly elements. The physical and theatrical nature of Lucha Libre also provided opportunity for him to actively participate and demonstrate commitment through athletic effort, rather than just passively appreciating or observing, making the gesture more impactful and memorable. The social media explosion surrounding Jin's Lucha Libre performance has been massive, with the combination of K-pop fans and wrestling fans both engaging with the content creating unusual crossover audience and generating discussions about cultural exchange, respectful appreciation, and the boundaries of celebrity performance. The specific images and clips that have gained most traction are those showing Jin's most successful wrestling poses, and the moments where his genuine effort and enthusiasm are most visible,